The birds are the word. After a week off, the ACU football team is back at it today in San Antonio. I'm Kara Stutzman.
And I'm Grant Boone. We'll preview the Wildcats rematch with Incarnate Word and meet the multi-talented Blake Rudd. The Ken Collums Show is next. Welcome into Studio D1 for Week 11 of the Ken Collums Show. I'm Grant Boone, joined by Kara Stutzman, ACU's senior broadcast journalism major, and the head coach, Ken Collums. Just your third off week since you got to ACU in 2005. That was last week. Did it give you a chance to collect yourself a little bit and reflect some?
Collection would be a good term. It gave us a chance as a staff and just as a team just to relax a little bit. And we didn't grind them last week. We went helmets only, which they were fired up about.
Yeah.
Because football is such a violent sport. You're running into each other. You're moving. It's your job to move somebody from here to there. And it's their job to keep compressing from there to here. And it's a constant strain. And to give them not a week off, but a little break, it's going to make the world a difference. Right now our guys are running around. They feel good. They actually they feel like they got caught up on academics. I don't know whether they did or not, but everybody's fired up. We're healing up, and things are good.
Did you and the coaches get a chance to chill just a little bit last Saturday?
Not quite so much. We were out recruiting,
sure.
It's a deal where we can take a deep breath, but that's kind of about it at this point.
We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show.
Well, as you said, you had that week to kind of collect yourself and reflect a little bit. What do you think, looking back on the season, is the major story of this past season?
Well, I think it is on one hand, it's very encouraging for the future. But on the other hand, it's encouraging, but it could have been better so far. You know, you look at the games that we've not won, and as a head coach, that haunts you. You know, it's always I wish I had a couple of those plays back, or if we could have done this like we should have. You constantly self-evaluate in my position. But I think if we would have made a couple more routine plays, I think this thing would have been out the roof. But I am very pleased with how things have gone. Things hadn't been perfect, but rarely are they ever perfect. But it's been a very encouraging year, and it has set the tone and really affirmed in us as coaches and administrators and as players that, you know what, we're not that far off. And we've just got to tinker with some things, solidify some other things, develop some depth in certain areas, and that's the big takeaway from this season. In the first 9 games.
All right, when we come back on the Ken Collums Show, some more thoughts with the coach on how this season has unfolded, including some of the pleasant surprises, his favorite plays, and what he's excited about for next season. Stay with us here on the Ken Collums Show.
It's game day at ACU, and you want everyone to know who's the fiercest, most loyal fan.
Hey, did you see the campus store got the new logos?
So come to the campus store, the #1 place to purchase your authentic Wildcat apparel. From shirts and hats to everything else, you'll feel like a true Wildcat when you shop at the campus store.
Back here on the Ken Collums Show as ACU gets ready to take on Incarnate Word for the second time in 3 weeks at 2 o'clock today. We're talking a little bit about how this 2013 season has unfolded. Coach, we knew going into the year that we had some proven players at the skill positions, talking about Daryl Cantu-Harkless, Taylor Gabriel, Darian Hogg. We knew that Sharkandrick West was a home run hitter, a prolific producer in terms of yards and touchdowns. By and large, those guys have delivered this year, haven't they?
I think of those guys that you just listed, I think they've all played really, really well. They all know their roles. They all have football savvy. They've been here a long time. We move them around constantly. We use them in different spots. And the bottom line is they all protect the ball. They're all trustworthy. And you know, when you're talking about that, that is a fleet of receivers that you just mentioned, and they've had tons of production around here. For those guys to all walk out of the program at the same time, we've got some work to do, and so we've got to go find guys, and we've got to continue to grow guys up.
I mean, when you think about Gabriel being now the #2 all-time receiver at ACU, he had a lot of help. I mean, he had some pretty good guys throwing to him the last 4 years, Mitchell Gale and John David Baker. But you think about Darian Hogg. Now, he can get lost among those other guys because his numbers aren't as eye-popping. Here's a number, though, that I think is pretty amazing. When you look at the longest touchdown receptions in ACU history, he has about 4 of them.
That's right.
4 of the top 10, including a couple this year, 80 plus.
That's right. And some of that is, you know what, he is very detailed in his routes as far as deep balls. He's able to adjust to the deep ball, but just as much as that, he's got an awareness on the field, and some of that is feedback from him. He comes to the sideline and goes, hey, the safety's not getting off the hash on 3rd and long, or in this situation, this is what's going on. So we kind of log that and go, hey, all right, whenever we need that, we know Darian, we trust him. He knows what he's been here, he's done that, and we trust what he sees, and we go with him. And sometimes that results in a huge play.
Well, you see wide receivers through the years wanting the ball and giving lots of feedback. We see that on the Cowboys side. But for a guy to be unselfish and still give you that feedback that can help you.
Yes, and we tell them all the time, whatever you tell me, it's got to be legit, or you've ruined your credibility, and now we're not going to let you. You just raise your hand and we'll call on you, and you never want to get to that.
That's good.
Well, we have those guys who were as good as advertised, but you also have guys like Richardson and Lopez who we knew were good from last year, but this year have stepped it up. I mean, Angel went from the 2nd most tackles on the team to the 1st by a huge number.
Yeah.
He's just been fantastic. Nick Richardson has also done amazing, recovered some huge fumbles for us. Talk a little bit about those guys who have stepped up.
Well, Angel Lopez is a guy, our safeties run the show back there on defense. They make calls, they recognize different personnel, different alignments, to get us out of certain blitzes into other, whether they're games or blitzes up front. And Angel's very intelligent, and you can't play safety for us and not have instincts, and you have to have intelligence. He's able to put it all together, and the fact that he can tackle really, really well makes him a really good safety for us. And he's improving a ton. Now, he's dropped interceptions in the past, but the last time we played Incarnate Word, I mean, he looked like a center fielder out there. I mean, he hawked them down and took the ball the other way. Nick Richardson, he's improved from last year. Last year he had a pretty big year.
And that was his first year at D end last year.
That's right. That's right. And he's improving physically. He's still growing, and which is pretty scary, you know. And like, let's keep putting a little more weight on him. Some guys can get too big, and they get a little lethargic or they get a little stiff. But he is a fluid athlete. Plays really, really hard. He'll make plays. He'll sack quarterbacks. He'll make plays 20 yards down the field, and that's what you want to see out of your defensive lineman. And the fact that he's pretty talented, that's what makes him a great player.
Yeah, I think about that play at Houston Baptist where he chased the runner down about midfield and stripped the ball, and Keith Barnett picked it up and ran the other way. So one other category of player let's talk about, guys who've emerged, who've stepped into the spotlight. Wasn't that we didn't think they were good, we just didn't know exactly. And you have to obviously start with your quarterback, John David Baker, who right now is sitting on a 29 touchdown, 3 interception season. He's thrown for a ton of yards. He's gotten a lot of guys involved, and he's more important, I think, than anything, he's led this team.
Yes, he has really learned how to lead. Being the backup quarterback it's pretty easy gig. You don't get as many reps in practice, so the expectations of you sometimes are not all that great. You don't get enough reps to really mess things up. And quarterbacks mess things up all the time. A lot of times it gets masked by a good running back or a receiver, or simply running the ball for a first down. But what he has done, he has learned how to lead. He's learned that, you know what, leadership as a starting quarterback is not all that fun sometimes. You got to kick people in the tail. You have to ruffle people's feathers. You got to rattle their cage, and it's up to you to get the best out of them, along with the head coach and the offensive coordinator. It's those 3 guys work together to make that offense go. The 29 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, I don't think you could have asked anybody that would have expected that. And I've been around the guy for 4 years, every day almost for the 4 years, and I couldn't anticipate that. He has exceeded my expectations and everybody else's, and he is such a wonderful person to be around. Very pleasant, fierce competitor. Last game proved that he can come back from a twisted foot, and which scared everybody. But he goes out for one play, and I said, all right. And I didn't even have to really say anything. He just kind of looked at me and said, all right, and then he went back in. So he is off the top. He has had an unbelievable year, and he deserves it. He had a great story here, and I'm very proud of John David.
Well, another guy that emerged this year, we saw glimpses of him on the defensive side, is Tyler Chapa. I mean, he came out of almost nowhere this year and turned into one of our best guys, especially on those receivers and the really fast receivers on the other team. He just comes out of nowhere and tackles them.
Sure, and he is a second-year guy, and as a rookie, you kind of just hope, don't mess things up as a true freshman. That's really what it is. You play a lot of young guys, and you're crossing your fingers, especially at corner where they can get exposed. But he has really progressed, and he's a very instinctive guy, great guy, hard worker. And whenever Coach Doolin tells him to do something, that's exactly what he does, and that's what you want as a coach. And the fact that he's in the right spot, now his instincts can take over, and that's why he makes plays.
Great season, 5-4 so far. A chance today to add to that and get a 6th win, and then a game next week against Prairie View A&M. Great season so far. Hopefully more big memories to come.
That's right.
All right. When we come back on the Ken Collums Show, we'll take it up to the JMC Network Sports Desk and see what's happening around the rest of the ASU sports world as the basketball seasons get underway. Keep it here on the Ken Collums Show.
Welcome back to the Ken Collums Show. Earlier this week, I caught up with a linebacker whose musical talent off the field might just surprise you.
I really love music, and so it's a way to take part in music and kind of, I guess, express myself. That sounds cliche, but express myself through music, and it's just something that I enjoy doing.
You started playing the guitar around the same time you started playing football. Who got you interested in playing the guitar?
It was really probably my uncle. He's the one that kind of plays in our family, and I thought it was kind of cool. And my dad always has us listening, growing up, to good music, and so I guess just one day I thought, okay, I'd like to do this. I had some friends that were doing it too, and I thought it was kind of cool. So my parents helped me out and found a guy to give me lessons, and just kind of started playing from there.
So is your whole family musical?
My dad is, I don't know why I said my dad. My dad is not. he urges us on to be. But my brother plays the drums, and then my cousin plays the piano and keyboards, and he's really good. And he's somebody else that also has pushed me on and made me a better musician. And so my uncle, and then I also have another uncle who's also really, really talented musician. And used to write jingles, and he's good too.
So with your busy schedule, football, homework, and school, when do you find the time to play the guitar?
It's hard to find. I find it sparingly. Certainly during the season, I don't get to play that much. But during the spring, I have a lot more time and get to play then. But it's hard. It's hard to find the time.
If you want to play your Twinkle Twinkle
The song I've been working on very hard.
on forever. Yes, could you please play the song?
The newest song that I learned.
Could you please play the newest song you've learned?
I've been working very hard on this one again. Let's see if I can remember. You need a little bit of practice on that one. A little rusty.
Now, if only he sang. Well, Matt and Cheryl won't be doing any musical numbers at the JMC Sportscast this week, but they will tell you what's going on with basketball.
Welcome to the JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Sharni Morosky.
And I'm Matthew Sloan.
Head coach Julie Goodenough is confident that the new players are ready to compete.
We got some really good shooters this year. We're going to try hard to get lots of three-point looks, lots of layups, and I think we've got a more athletic team that should be a better rebounding team than what we had last year, and hopefully that will allow us to have more possessions just by ripping down rebounds on a regular basis. But we are a little bit guard heavy, but we do have some good post players this year that I think will be good scoring options for us.
The men's basketball team has spent the offseason working and preparing for the season, but head coach Joe Golding says that the team has also spent plenty of time getting involved in the community.
I think it's a big difference in just the student athlete that we have. You know, I really like this group as far as what they've done off the floor. You know, we've been able to do a lot of stuff in the community. We've done 3 outreach deals in the community, and we're taking care of our classwork, and so that's been a great sign. As far as like Division I on the floor, we've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes to try to prepare these guys, but we're fixing to find out here in about 48 hours. You know, when we get on a plane and head up on these trips, so it will be an eye-opening experience for everybody in our locker room. You know, we have one kid that has any. That played Division I basketball. He played a limited role at Middle Tennessee as a freshman, so it's going to be a brand new experience for all these guys.
Men's basketball brought in several transfers for their first Division I season. Junior guard L.D. Williams is ready to take on the competition level Division I has to offer.
It's exciting, but at the same time, it's kind of like nerve-wracking because we're not supposed to win these games. I mean, but it's fun. It's going to be fun, though. It's a challenge.
The women's basketball team has a lot of new faces to go along with a new conference this season. Sophomore Whitney West is ready for the new opponents and her new leadership role.
Being more of a vocal leader, I think, because since I'm like one of the oldest girls on the team, so I need to be more of a vocal leader and as well as a leader on the floor.
For the JMC Network Sportscast, I'm Sharni Morosky.
And I'm Matthew Sloan. Be sure and join us again next week.
Coming up next is a look at the other teams in the Southland Conference, and we'll preview today's game against the Birds of Incarnate Word. So stay with us on the Ken Collums Show.
Back here on the Ken Collums Show, take a look at today's schedule around the Southland Conference. Southeastern Louisiana, fresh off a huge first-place showdown victory over McNeese State last week, on the road in Conway, Arkansas, against University of Central Arkansas. Coach, your old boss, Clint Conk. They haven't quite had the season they were hoping for after going to the playoffs last year. This could turn things around today against Southeastern.
And, yes, and they've gotten their starting quarterback went down several weeks ago, and they're still able to win some games. And it'll be tough for Southeastern to go up there and win on the Stripes.
Ooh, on that purple and gray turf.
Right.
It'll freak you out, won't it? We'll get to see that.
I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend we're traveling down to San Antonio to play Incarnate Word. We just played them homecoming a couple weeks ago. 40-6 victory, pretty much a blowout, basically. But because of that win, how hard is it for the players and for you to stay focused and kind of zeroed in on this weekend's game and not just kind of walk into it saying, oh, we have a win?
Sure, and that's a great question. That is the constant struggle as a head coach. Your job is to prepare your team in any situation that they're about to walk into. What we're about to walk into, we've beaten this team 40-6. Well, when you look at the game, they didn't play very well. They gave us the ball. They were not very clean. They are better than how they played us in game one. Now, we forced some of those turnovers. We talked about, pressuring the quarterback, limiting their passing game. Our defense got after them now. I mean, it was a good game defensively, and we forced some of those turnovers. But anytime you beat a team 40-6, you're coming off of a week off. I've been pretty tough on these guys this week. I've had to fuss at them a little bit. But the thing is, we've had really good practices, and they've worked well in the weight room. A lot of times that will foreshadow kind of their approach, how they go work in the weight room, because nobody ever sees that, and how that a lot of times that carries over to how they practice on the practice field. We've had good weight room workouts, we've had good practices, and our guys are ready, and we're pretty much healed up as much as you can be after 9 games of running into each other. But you know, if we go in there and play clean, we should be fine regardless of what happened the first time we played them.
Specifically, you mentioned your defense. You held Incarnate Word to about 300 yards of total offense. A little better than 200, though, came on the ground, and Broderick Reeves had their only touchdown. He went nuts against McMurray last week. He had 6 touchdowns and nearly 250 yards rushing. He's a load. You'll have to account for him.
Oh, there's no doubt. When there's a running back there and a team that's committed to running the ball, like Coach Keenan is, he knows how to win. I mean, he's a great coach. He's been around a while, and he's coached at all levels. And he understands, you know what, to run the ball is to win in the game of football, and we'll have to do a really good job. We'll have to do better than McMurray did against that kid. So, and Coach Doolin knows that, and we are. I think we'll be able to do that. And you know, if we make it a one-dimensional game for them, make them have to drop back and throw a little bit, I think we'll get after the quarterback.
We saw John David Baker hurt for a play, had to come out of the New Mexico State game. How about overall health of your team? I've got to believe that off week helped tremendously in that area.
Oh, it did. Everybody's dinged up at this time of the season. When you go helmets only, it's like a revival out there. I mean, the people are feeling good. Josh Bloom had a strained MCL, may or may not play. That'll be a game time decision. John David's fine. We held him out of practice a little bit last week, but he's a tough individual. He is one of the things you look for in a quarterback is toughness, number one, a love for the game, and a competitive fire. He's got all 3 of those. So he's fired up. He looks sharp in practice. So be ready to go tonight.
I tell you, one thing that's fun about playing Incarnate Word is you get to go down to San Antonio. Always good food. So you start. That's where I always start.
That's good. Good place to start.
The Riverwalk.
But the Riverwalk is there. But it gives our fans in the Hill Country a chance to come out and support. Thinking about the 2 previous times we've played football against Incarnate Word, 2010 and then last year, our fans have actually outnumbered the Incarnate Word fans. I realize they're a relatively new football program, only since '09, but you've looked up in the stands in those Incarnate Word games, and you've seen a packed house with a lot of purple.
I know it. And they tend to be a little bit more of a ruckus crowd down there, too, so we kind of like that. They're fired up before the game. They'll tailgate. I'm going to try to take a trip out through the parking lots just to harass those guys and just thank them for coming. But it's a good deal. We've got a good bit of San Antonio flavor on our team, and we're recruiting in that area really hard. And there's the San Antonio high school football is really good, and as far as the recruitability for us in that area, it's really high. It's 4 hours away. And it should be a really good deal recruiting in the future also.
Well, go get them out there, and all the best in getting your 6th win of the season.
I appreciate it.
All right. It is ACU and Incarnate Word. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff. Radio broadcast begins on the ACU Sports Network at 1:30. For Coach Ken Collums and for Kara Stutzman, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Ken Collums Show on K-Texas and on ACUoptimist.com. Enjoy the game today, and we'll see you right here next week.